Okay, Phil, we're back.
Hello, Lehigh Valley.
Let me, you think I'd be able to figure out how to use this by now? Yes, here we are.
Here we
I've
are.
only been doing this for a year and a half. We're back. We're having fun today. This is another episode of the Lehigh Valley with Love podcast. I am your co-host, George Wacker, with my co-host for today, Phil Reese,
Hello.
who
Hello,
was
everybody.
instrumental in designing our Music Fest schedule, one of which the artist that we're speaking to today, Hannah Gill, was on. And we have a really fun story, and we have the video from that. We had an impromptu performance during a lightning storm. Before we get started, Phil, do you have anything to say? Like, hello? How's it going?
I mean, I'm just so enjoying this and appreciate the opportunity to join in with all of this. Like, it just seems to have continued to escalate. Like, we you had the live stream idea during Music Fest. So we put out some of the artists to focus on during the week. They were super highly engaging and really appreciated that. Right.
We met so many of them.
Yeah. So day after day, they were like, oh, that was awesome. And then we're like, maybe we should keep this going. And so that's where we are today. Now we're going to continue to keep this train rolling.
So if you're not familiar with Hannah Gill, she's been covered by the New York Times, Teen Vogue, NPR, toured internationally. Her original music videos have over 1 million YouTube views, probably more now. And you probably know her. She's been a singer with Modern Jukebox, has performed at the Sydney Opera House, and for us under a tenant Music Fest, I will mention as well. But let's talk a little bit. This is from her song Austin. We can only show so much before Facebook will boot us, so let's listen.
We're such rebels.
I know. I don't.
To see if I could fit in, and I felt like a proper lady.
I'm watching the time.
That's right. But you gotta let it go. It's so good. I'll try not to sing along.
Okay, pull the plug. All right. Hannah, we're going to bring you in. Yay, Hannah.
Hello.
Hannah.
Look, it's blonde Hannah.
That's right.
Yeah. How old are you?
And if you do watch YouTube, there are a lot of different Hannahs out there. There's a brunette Hannah. There's a short hair Hannah.
My hairstyles are a marketing nightmare. Apparently, I change my hair way too often. Apparently.
I disagree. I think it's wonderful.
So we're going to talk about when you were here for Music Fest, and that was fun. But what have you been doing in the month since we've seen you last?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, now I live in New York City, and so work has slowly kind of been coming back. So I've been able to, when I'm not performing my own original stuff, I'm a jazz singer, and I do a lot of stuff for swing dancers. So there have been a few things here and there, but just trying to write and work where there is work to be done. So. Yeah.
And you're in New York City now, you said. So.
I am, yeah.
I wanted to talk a little bit before I throw it to Phil for some of the musical things. I'm reading up on you, learning about your history and how you were discovered. It was an interesting, but like a fun and such a genuinely authentic story. Could you relay your middle school talent?
Yeah. It's kind of ridiculous, but yeah, no. So I transferred schools in the middle of 8th grade due to a bad case of bullies. And so I transferred like mid-year and nobody really knew me, but there was this like talent show that was going to happen. So I ended up playing, what did I play? I played Misery, the Maroon 5 song on the ukulele. and I ended up winning the talent show. And so it was, that happened. And then a couple years, I get like a few months later, my dad works with the YMCA and was just having a proud dad moment and was sharing the video with some of the people on his board. And one of the men was like, hey, my son has a recording studio in New York, like as a gift to your daughter or something. Maybe it'd be fun to like take her up and like record a couple songs, see what it feels like to be in a studio. And so he held off for a little bit. And then on my 16th birthday, we came up from Maryland and I saw a Ben Howard concert and Michael Kiwanuka opened. It was so cool.
Awesome.
And then I went and recorded just 2 cover songs with my friend and old musical partner, Brad Hammonds. And after the end of the day, he kind of asked, he was like, hey, do you want to maybe come back and sing some of my songs? And so then it kind of started me down this road of traveling on like a Tuesday right after school to make it to Rockwood for like a 5 p.m. show and then come right back the next day. And so I kind of did that back and forth. And my dad was very supportive. He always said, like, as long as I could do any show, as long as I didn't miss any school. So I was definitely sleep deprived for my last 2 years of high school. But yeah, and then so I was doing all that, and I slowly started writing my own music. And then when it came time to graduate, I ended up deferring a year from college to just move to the city and try and just work to be a musician for a year and see what happened. And then, that year was coming to a close, and I realized I had my original music going and started doing jazz gigs, and I just made it another year. And now I've been here for almost 6 years. So
Right.
we're still here.
And so,
Phil, it makes me
George.
feel good. It makes me feel good because I share stuff with my daughter all the time. And sometimes you're like, man, is this too much? Now I know I should just share more.
That's right.
You never know who's watching.
Yeah, no, it worked out really well. And yeah,
That's great.
Yeah.
So Brad he would have been the gentleman on the guitar behind you in that video.
Yes.
For people who were able to be watching.
Mhm.
And that time frame where you start evolving into a tour, that's what becomes Hannah Gill and the Hours, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I had this really big band, like a 3-horn piece section, and we would just travel and kind of play my pop stuff. And I noticed as I started writing more and more, I kind of tended to go towards that singer-songwriter route. So I think I kind of wanted to take it down a more broken down road, smaller group. And that's where now it's kind of just Hannah Gill. But yeah, I mean, Brad's doing great though. Like, I don't know. He has this, he started this band called Brass Against.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like this like heavy metal, like horn band that does,
they have
like,
something like Brass Against the Machine, which is
exactly.
like really kind of funny.
Mhm.
But
Yes.
back to this transition for you. Was he the one that got you into Postmodern Jukebox or vice versa? Like, how did you get involved with them?
No, so I actually always say, it's funny because she would disagree with me on this, but so the way that I tell it was that I was a huge fan of Postmodern Jukebox. Like in high school, like it was coming out right at the peak of like it was just great. So I was obsessed. And I remember writing an email to just their like info like thing. It was just like, hey, I'm a singer. I'm moving to New York, blah, blah, blah. And of course, like I didn't hear anything back. And then one day I was out swing dancing and I was talking to a friend and I was like, hey, I think that's Robin Adele Anderson, like one of the singers from the band. And he was like, no, she's not. And I was like, I bet you $20 it is. And so I went up and I asked, and of course it was her. So I made $20, which was great. But yeah, so we just chatted and had our picture taken together and became like friends on Facebook. And so I always assumed it was like, then I started posting some of my music stuff and I got called to fill in for a wedding gig for her, just for one of her own things. And then a couple weeks after that, I got a reply to that @info email that was like, hey, Scott's going to be in New York at some point. He'd love to meet up with you. So we played like phone tag for a few months. And then what was it? I think it was April of 2017. I like finally got to go out to LA to make a video and hang out. So
yeah,
I mean,
those videos, if you either go on your YouTube channel or Postmodern Jukebox channel, they're all fun, but yours are in particular are exceptional. Like it really is.
You.
Everyone should be a fan of what they do because it's so much fun.
Yeah.
How is it?
Great. Oh no, you're fine. I was just saying.
I was just saying, like to watch like a video like that, or even the Postmodern Jukebox stuff, because it seems like it happened somewhat quickly. Were you ever kind of like, wow, I'm on the set of my own music video, and like it seems like.
It was super surreal, especially because I really did like idolize a lot of the people that I ended up working with and am now like really good friends with. But I mean, I had never left the continental US like before. And I went out to LA to meet with them. And then that next that summer I got asked to go to Australia and New Zealand with them. And so it was like first time out of the country, take the longest flight there is. And then it kind of started down this, I did a lot of touring for 2 or 3 years. I started with 0 countries to now I feel like, actually I've got my map right behind me. Like I have little pins.
Oh, there you go.
Pins everywhere. So there's,
wow.
Yeah. So I've something ridiculous, like, but yeah, so it's
super awesome though.
Pretty crazy. I have some good memories with that band. It's awesome.
Of course. Is that what brought you to Sydney Opera House, or was that something else?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I got to play there with them twice.
Awesome.
Once in 2017 and then once in 2019. I was there at the end of 2019.
Is there a particular venue that was like the most memorable? Is it that one or is it something else?
I mean, that one's pretty dang memorable. There's just so many. Like we were at the Olympia in Paris, which was, and Paris was the first European city I went to with them. And we were there. We did the music video for Crazy was shot there. We were there for like a week for rehearsals. So it was just a dream. And we played at the Casablanca Jazz Festival in Morocco. Yeah, it's just, man, personally, one of my favorites was in New Zealand. I think and I'm probably going to kick myself because it's either Wellington or Christchurch. I think it was the Christchurch one, but they have they have a dressing room that's dedicated to Flight of the Conchords.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And I'm like a huge fan of anything that either of those guys do. So I had a fun moment. But no, I just got to like travel the world with them. So it's really cool.
That's awesome. Yeah. So I would say your voice, the way you carry yourself, pretty much your whole soul is so perfect for that 1920s to 40s jazz style.
Thank you.
But you're talking about like your singer-songwriter style, where you're headed to. So like, I was just curious, like, are you wanting to not get pigeonholed, or is it just like you want to branch out to different things? Like what's motivating that change there?
No, I don't think, like, it's funny. The way that I always describe it is like, and once again, like I said, I'm kind of like a music business person's worst nightmare. Cause I don't know, like, jazz is such a huge part of my life and the way that I sing. And so naturally it seeps into my writing as well.
Certainly.
But I feel like there's a lot of different, like, I wouldn't even say versions of myself, but genres that I enjoy writing and listening to and performing. And I've found like, because, since I was 16, I've had a lot of really awesome people teach me about business. And I've also had a lot of people like kind of tell me what I should do or like how I should present myself to have maximum success, And I think whether it's right or not, like, check back with me in a couple years and we'll see what's going on. But I think the way that I just want to go about it is, every time I release something or do a new project, it's just because it's something that I'm passionate in and I want to do it and I want to invest my time and energy into it. And I might have a jazz album. I might have a folk album. I might put out a dance album. I don't know, just
I would say like even like Halsey's new record with Trent Reznor,
Yeah.
Right. It's like, why say I have to do this? Who knows who you might meet in next year, and maybe it's maybe not industrial metal, but
and I like to think too, like all my favorite musicians and things, my favorite things about them isn't necessarily like, I feel like through somebody's like whole discography, right, you kind of get to know who they are as like a person and a musician. And I don't know, I feel like I don't just do one thing in my life. Like my whole life is a combination of doing a bunch of things. And so I feel like it would only make sense for my music to like do the same thing,
Totally.
So we're going to see how that goes.
But that authenticity, that being genuine, I think, so if you're not a music business person's dreamboat, I think you are for the audience, because there's this, majesty that you have about you that just seems magnetic for people to just want to listen. And also you just have a great personality or energy about you. Like, now let's transition to Music Fest.
Good call, Phil. I was going to do it for you.
Good segue.
Because I think it's a good story. So I'll tell a little bit about what was going on for George and I, and then we'll transition to you, because
I'm going to bring the video in as you talk.
Sure, okay. So we're there to see you. We go under the tent, and all of a sudden the lightning starts to happen. The announcement happens that, the festival's suspended, and we're just under there for safety. And like a half hour goes by, and I turn to George, and I'm like, wait, don't you have your recording stuff on you? And he says, well, yeah. I said, well, I'm going to go ask Hannah Gill, if she'll just do an interview right now.
We're like, don't bother them.
And that's what he was like, well, I don't know. And I'm like, I'm already walking away from him at that point, because you were engaging with us on social media. So I just said, I just have a feeling she's going to be cool with this. And not only were you cool with it, that you said, I said, what do you mind me? We'll make the best of this 15-minute interview or something. You're like, I'm going to go grab my guitar and I'm going to perform for everybody. And I was like, that's even better. So we pull out a chair. We make sure we're like as tight into this tent as we can, so that we don't get, thunder or rain or anything near your instruments. And then now it's on, why don't you share, like, on your side, you're backstage, you're ready to perform. You were booked prior times for Allentown, Bethlehem area, and now we're on our third time of getting a cancellation, but we weren't going to let that happen.
I know. Yeah, it really did work out so well. I mean, yeah, me and the guys drove from New York, and it was hilarious because we had literally just spoken to the guy about what he was going to say to intro us. And so, like, guy walked on stage, started talking, and we all thought that he was about to announce us. And then, like, the lights started flickering, and we were like, it came out of nowhere. And, like, you can't even be mad because, like, it's the weather. Like, what are you going to do, Right. But no, so we were, we were just hanging out. And, like, I think nobody was really mad. I think everybody was more so, we were just bummed because we had never played together, like, as a group in that setting other than, like, just rehearsals. So we were, like, really excited to do it. And I was talking to Dave Tedeschi, my drummer, and he was saying, like, oh, you should play a song. And I didn't really know, like, how to, like, I didn't know how to, like, initiate it, So I was like, oh, I don't know. Like, I was a little like, let's just see if we can play, And I mean, it rolled around to about 15 minutes until our set was over. And yeah, like, it was the perfect when you asked, I heard Dave be like, you should play a song. And I was like, oh, I can play a song.
I was just
let's listen to some of it.
I want to show this part because when we get to the end here, I don't know. You can see the lightning.
Oh yeah.
Look back and laugh at the fate of our year.
But this was great because it was so, like, just genuine.
Yeah, it was really nice. It was a nice moment.
I'll hold you in my arms and tell tales under the moon of these hours.
That part still gives me chills just listening now.
Where the dreams that you have just can't fit on your plate and like.
Yeah, I had a fast forward just a little bit.
Yeah.
To do, I want to make sure. Yeah,
I know, here it is. Yeah.
Because my only worry was Artist Quest was going to yell at us because we were performing during the lightning.
George is the worry ward.
Thank you.
Rain is still out there, so stay safe. We'll see you. Whoa.
We timed that out perfectly.
Be safe.
It went so well. No, yeah, it was really fun, actually. And it was, just thundering throughout the whole thing. But it was nice because that song, Brighter Someday, I had actually, like, kind of just finished writing it maybe like a few days ago.
That's
and
fantastic.
So it was, thanks. And so it was one of those that I was, like, anxious to get to play.
Sure.
And yeah, it just worked out really well. Because also, ukulele is my main instrument. So there's really only so many of my songs that I know how to play on guitar. And that one I wrote on guitar. So it just all worked. It worked out really nicely.
Is that where, like, your musical beginnings, this is like a Phil question, but your musical beginnings, did you start with the ukulele, or was it something that you just really enjoyed playing?
I mean, I got a ukulele when I was 14. I mean, it doesn't necessarily like, and I like played around with it, you know, and that's what I played ukulele when I sang that song at the talent show. But since I met Brad when I was 16 and started working with him when I was young, like I kind of had like some of the best musicians in New York, like at my disposal. So like in a lot of ways, I was writing with people in a room full of instruments, like for a while. So even though I would like dabble and write, I certainly couldn't perform like a set by myself. Actually, that really only happened until like, if it wasn't like, there's a lot of negative that has come out of the pandemic. But one of the things that I wouldn't be able to like perform the way that I do now if it wasn't for that, because I realized very quickly if I wanted to try and make some income, like, because I'm a full-time musician, you know, like if I want to try and make some income during the pandemic, like I got to play my stuff and I got to support myself. And so like for the first like 1 or 2 months, like the way that I maintained my sanity was just like work, like just practicing for like 4 or 5 hours a day.
Sure.
Like, and like if it like now at shows before I would maybe play a song or two on guitar, you know, and they wouldn't necessarily be very good. And now I'm on all my songs, and I've like, you know, and all these ones that I'm writing, I like, so it's really cool to get to like have a moment like that one where I could just say, yeah, let me sit down and play. Like I don't think I would have had that if it wasn't for the endless days of practicing.
Certainly.
And does that just make you overall, I mean, just as a musician, you know, you're just so much more adaptable to different situations where you can
feels really good.
or,
Yeah. It's nice to have that like freedom, I think, like as a vocalist. Yeah. To be like, don't worry, I got this myself. And then other times I'm like, please, you go. You know way more than me.
It was great because most of our Facebook Live was just walking around. Like, so that was one where, you know, it was just great to be able to be there, number one, but to catch it live was great too. So.
We caught lightning in a bottle. The inspiration to write music, where does that come from? I'm sure a lot of places, but is there
a lot of different things? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's no logic to it. I'll tell you that much. It's actually kind of like ridiculous. Like some songs I'll like come back to every once in a while, but most of them, it's like I'll have an idea for a thing, and then like I won't be able to focus on anything else until it's done. Like I'll spend like, I'm like, oops, I just spent 8 hours like trying to do this thing, you know, and then I'll wake up the next morning and be like, okay, we got to do it again. Or like if I'm doing like some demo on GarageBand, even though it's like really only for like my ears and like a few other people, I'm like, you got to know the vibe. Like it's this whole thing. So yeah, but no, I don't know. It comes from a lot of stuff, I think. I mean, like, you know, I'm sure this is an answer you get all the time, especially now, but like, you know, being stuck in a room for a year certainly also kind of made you like certain inspirations for things.
Certainly.
But yeah.
Are you with touring wise? How is that? I mean, I know that in some places gigs are getting canceled again. You know, there's some restrictions in there. What are you doing?
Yeah, it's pretty non-existent right now. For the time being, I'm not working with Modern Jukebox. I just want to kind of take some time to focus on like building back up the stuff in New York that, you know, like we're inside for a year. I want to like take a year and like reinsert myself. But I mean, but I think they're doing stuff. And, you know, my main way to travel before, like alongside a Postmodern Jukebox is with my friend Gordon Webster, who's this piano player for a lot of swing dancing events, Lindy Hop events, like went to China, went to South Korea, been all over Europe, like, and a lot of those events are like annual. So it's this sort of thing, you know, where it's a pretty reliable thing. But right now, large scale social dancing is probably still far away. So,
right.
So I think in terms of of touring large scale like that, I don't even really look at it as an option right now. If it happens, it'll be a pleasant surprise, but I'm not putting my eggs in that basket. Yeah.
When it comes, you'll know.
Yeah, but I mean, like in certain situations, like getting to travel to steel stacks and like getting to do smaller things where it can actually kind of be controlled, you know, like that is something that's really nice. Yeah.
And speaking of that, that's probably a piece of good news and for a good promotion here. Next Saturday, you're going to be here, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. On the 11th. Yeah. I'm really happy that it worked out. So the original band that got rained out with me was Dave Tedeschi and Logan Evan Thomas. And Logan won't be able to make it, but my friend Jesse Elder is going to be there with Dave and I. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited. Yeah.
Is that the Music Fest Cafe?
No, it's on the Levitt stage. It's part of the free schedule for Levitt. So it's a free show. People should come down, sit on the lawn, and bask in your wonderful, beautiful voice and music.
It'll be a great time. It'll be a lot of fun.
Oh, you're going to have the new T-shirt there for sale? I mean, that new T-shirt looks awesome.
Oh, my gosh. I will have the new T-shirt. Oh, wait, hold on. I'll show it to you right now. Hold on. We got it. Here. They're super soft. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so it's funny, I have a music video for my song, Take Your Time. And speaking of going crazy in quarantine, it was literally me just against my green wall in my old bedroom, putting a bunch of different makeup on. But I really liked how it turned out. And I ended up, I'm not a graphic designer by any means, but I had all this time on my hands. So I was like, I might as well learn how to like play, because I wanted to kind of try and experiment making a thing. So I ended up kind of tracing the final product of that makeup from that music video and like turning it into that design. So yeah.
We were just talking with an artist, Blair Crimmins. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he was talking about during the quarantine, he was learning he's a banjo player as well, but he was learning even more and more from some of the masters from years ago, because again, you have is time on your hands.
I know. Yeah, absolutely. I found myself like doing things I haven't done since I was a kid. Like I would like sit on the floor in a different corner of my room and be like, I can't remember the last time I saw this angle. Like, and just being like, oh my God, I'm losing it. But yeah.
Anything else you want to promote for the fall and winter here? I know gigs are questionable at best. But,
I know everything is so questionable right now, but I will say I'm going to hopefully post about things as they come. I just had a show in New York this last Thursday at this place called Revision. And I'm kind of planning on trying to make it a monthly thing. So hopefully I'll get to do another live original thing there. And I mean, in the meantime, I'm just playing jazz in New York and I'll be coming back to Bethlehem. And so the rest is, as much as me.
Well, hopefully I don't want it to rain, of course. I'm knocking on lots of wood.
If it rains
I can't believe you're going to bring this up.
But we'll be there to get some more recordings of it. I love that it's outside. The Levitt Pavilion is fantastic.
There you go. I'm going to tell my piano player to bring his melodica just in case, so we could do a full acoustic set.
Well, we're looking forward to it. Thank you for taking your time out today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much, Hannah.
Yeah, and it'll be good to see you guys in a couple days.
For sure.
Appreciate it. All right, Phil, let's say goodbye to everybody. We're going to be back on in a few minutes. But
Sounds good.
Bye, guys.
Okay. Thank you, Hannah.
Thanks.